We spent a long weekend in Athens, exploring ancient sites, learning about Greek history, and eating amazing food.
A quick geographical primer. The sprawling city of Athens is oriented around the ancient Acropolis, the flat-topped hill on and around which the Parthenon and other religious, civil, and defensive structures were built.
We stayed nearby at the Divani Palace Acropolis Hotel, which meant we could easily get to most of the major tourist attractions like the ancient Agora,
the Olympic Stadium,
all the restaurants and shops in the Plaka neighborhood,
Syntagma Square,
Monastiraki,
and the Roman Forum. While all of this is walkable, Uber also works to hail and pay for taxis if you're in a rush or need to give your legs a break.
Our favorite thing to do on the first day in a new city is to take a small group guided walking tour. This really helps us get our bearings for where things are, start to pick up on some history, and acts like a teaser for stuff we want to come back and explore more later on.
A quick note. A couple months before our trip, we purchased the Acropolis and Archaeological Sites combined ticket from the official Hellenic Heritage website, which we've linked in the description. This gave us access to the Acropolis and 6 other sites throughout Athens, so it was a great option for a first-time visitor. When buying your ticket, you'll be asked to select a date and time for your entry to the Acropolis, but you can visit all the other sites anytime within a 5-day period.
After the tour, we ended up grabbing a pita with our guide at this fantastic Euro place, Eurostrola. We were pretty close to the ancient Agora, so we decided to spend our afternoon there using our combination ticket.
The ancient Agora is an expansive site, historically a meeting place to conduct business, pass laws, enjoy theatrical performances, and listen to philosophers.
In the Agora was a great little museum full of artifacts from daily life. We particularly enjoyed the cooking devices and what looked like an ancient pizza oven.
We recommend downloading an audio guide to help make sense of what you're seeing. We used the Rick Steves Audio Europe guide and it was perfect. Back outside in the heart of the Agora, only the foundations are left of the civil offices and other buildings that were central to daily life in ancient Greece.
Up the hill inside the Agora complex, the Temple of Hephaestus remains more intact and offers great views back down to the main area.
Here is an ancient turtle friend.
Next up was a walk over to the Olympic Stadium, where we casually passed by the almost 1900-year-old Arch of Hadrian, like you do.
The stadium was not included in our Athens Combined Pass, but tickets are only €10 and readily available on site. Be sure to grab the included audio guide on your way in.
We both went to the University of Georgia, located in Athens, Georgia in the US, so we had a lot of fun exploring this ancient stadium. We climbed all over the stands and we saw people doing laps on the track.
This remains the world's only stadium built entirely out of marble, and the first row of seats in some sections had backs to provide more comfort for the highest class attendees.
Go Dogs! There's also a cool passageway that was allegedly where gladiators and athletes would enter the stadium. Today, it leads to a small museum dedicated to the history of the Olympics with posters and torches from all the past games. Of course, we had to find the Atlanta poster.
We hung out at the stadium until it was close to closing time, enjoying being in this historic place and taking in the views of the Acropolis in the late afternoon sunlight.
That night, we ventured over to Plaka for drinks and dinner. found a super cute place called Yasimi where we could have drinks on the stepped terrace outside. It was so picturesque, and the local wine was pretty good too. For dinner, we tried Eat at Milton's. They had a lovely heated patio, and we ordered a few things to share, including a breaded goat cheese salad, some seafood specials, and of course, I couldn't resist a pavlova for dessert. It was the perfect end to our first day in Athens.
Our first stop the next morning was the Acropolis. We chose an earlier entry time to avoid both the heat and the crowds.
Our walking tour guide recommended we use the less popular South Slope entrance. This turned out to be smart based on the lines we saw outside the main gates. We've dropped a map pin for this entrance in the description below.
Just inside this gate is the Theater of Dionysus, considered to be the world's oldest theater. And halfway up the slope is the Odeon of Herodes Atticus. This over 1860-year-old Roman theater was renovated in 1950 and is still used for events and performances today.
Finally approaching the main attraction, we walked up the steps of the Propylaea, or the primary ancient entrance to the Acropolis. The steps here are more modern reconstructions, as historians actually do not know how this entrance was originally configured.
Once you pass through the entrance, the Parthenon is the immediate and obvious attraction. We took our time to walk around and listen to our audio tour, imagining what this temple looked like and how it was used when it was originally built almost 2,500 years ago.
At one end of the Acropolis, there's a small platform with great panoramic views of the city. And coming back from that spot, we shifted attention from the Parthenon to some of the other structures up here.
The Erechtheion allegedly sits on the spot where Athena and Poseidon battled for naming rights of the city below.
The two-story temple was built for the worship of both gods, as they remained buddies even after Athena won.
Heading back down the hill, you can see the temple of Athena Nike just outside the Propylaea, as well as another rocky hill swarming with people outside the Acropolis gates.
Curious about this spot, we headed down and across the street to find Areopagus Hill.
You can climb on top of these rocks to get a great view of the Acropolis, as well as an overlook of the ancient Agora and northern parts of the city.
Next, we decided to explore the Roman Forum. It was small but pretty cool and included in our combined ticket, so worth a quick visit. This site has not yet been fully excavated, but you can tell it was set up as a large courtyard with a main entrance and porch-like area surrounding it.
Built several hundred years after the ancient Agora, this area was used back in the day as an open-air market, whereas the nearby Agora served more political and civil functions. Again, this site was small and a pretty quick visit, so the obvious next stop was for donuts.
Lukumades is the name of both the shop and the menu item we were after. These treats supposedly began as a Greek victory symbol in the ancient Olympics. Today, non-Olympians like us can just buy these fried donut balls covered in cinnamon and honey.
Next up, we headed to Syntagma Square for the changing of the guard. Syntagma Square is adjacent to the building that houses today's Greek Parliament, and at the base of the Parliament building is Greece's monument to the unknown soldier. A special infantry unit called the Evzuns guard this tomb, and a changing of the guard ceremony occurs every hour, 24 hours a day.
On Sundays at 11 a.m., a more elaborate changing of the guard ceremony occurs where the wreaths on the monument are replaced, but our schedule only allowed us to watch one of the routine ones. We ended the day at A is for Athens, a rooftop lounge overlooking Monastiraki Square and with excellent views of the Acropolis.
From Athens, a quick car ride to the port of Piraeus the next day gave us access to the ferries serving many of the Greek islands, including Aegina, the island closest to Athens.
Hellenic Seaways operates high-speed ferries between Piraeus and Agina. The ferry ride is comfy and only takes 30 minutes.
The ferry drops off in the small port right by Aegina's old town. A short walk up the coast, we found the ruins of the Temple of Apollo. A couple euros covered the entry fee to these ruins, as well as a small archaeological museum on site.
It was neat to explore and wander around a very uncrowded site outside of the big ones in Athens, and its location also provides some nice views of the harbor.
After a bit, the seagulls reminded us it was almost time for lunch. So we headed back into Aegina town to explore. This place looked and felt like exactly what you imagine when you think of a quiet Greek island town in the off-season.
We stopped in for a quick lunch at one of the waterfront cafes, whose name I won't try to pronounce.
Soon enough, our ferry back to Athens was waiting for us. While you could spend a few days exploring Aegina town and the rest of the island, our schedule meant we were only able to spend a few hours here. Still, we loved getting at least a bit of time on the water and outside of the city.
Back in Athens, we found a rooftop bar called City Zen to spend our last evening snacking and taking in our final views of the Acropolis before heading home. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again for our next adventure.